Well, I tried. If you submit it as any file, I tried to open it, and if I couldn't open it, I had to tell you submit it as a single PDF file. Yes, you need to resubmit it. Yes. Charisse, you have a question. What's your question, Bob? What's your question? You resubmitted 2 of them. Would you be able to open up for the NMR? Okay. Yeah, I will resubmit. I will open it. If that is the concern, or if that is going to help you, yes, I will. Okay. Let's see, what is this? Few questions. That's okay. 60%. It's okay. Okay, trying to go to that. Trying to open your class so I can open the assignments for you, but it's not. Okay, it's right here. Which one was that, for 1718 only or more? I think I had 2 or 3 of them, but just hope that you were able to.
Mine was 1718 notebook. I got a 66.67.
Okay, that is just that I give 2 out of 3 for same reason. If I cannot open it, I didn't say that it was wrong. It's just that I couldn't open it, and I was I put in the due date for today at 11:59, and I hope that you can submit it before 11:29. If you use your mic and tell me which one is it, so because I don't want to go back and forth from the page. What else is part 1 and 2? Apparently that one still is open. So you should be able to. Part 3 also. Yes, tell me.
For mine, it was 17 and 18, and then 19, 1, 2, and 3.
Okay. 19 part 1 and 2, 19 part 3 still takes submissions. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks. I always submit it the same, so I think like something weird just happened this time. I'm not sure. But.
Okay, it could be my computer. They did update. We have to call the help desk. They once in a while they update, and it didn't help. So Blackboard Collaborate also, by going away, it made things a little different. So I can't say if it's better or worse, but it's different. Upload. If it's a PDF, it should allow you to upload. How is that possible? PDF would let you upload. I mean, it makes the size smaller. Maybe you have to save it as 2 separate. You can save it. You can print like a print the first. How many pages do you have, Taylor? Too many pictures in the document, but when you save it as a PDF, it's going to be, and it's not supposed to be pictures. They are supposed to. I don't like the copy and paste from let's say the book, pages from the book into, because I already have those pages. The purpose for 17 and 18, the purpose of asking you to copy those tables, it wasn't copy and paste. It was like as you're writing those, you would remember or you learn something about it. So even if you have like a picture or two, when you save it as a PDF, it's supposed to decrease the file size. And worst thing what you could do, like if you did write down and you did follow the instructions, what you could do is you can save it as 2 parts. Like if it's 5 pages, you know, print page 1 and 2 in PDF, and then 3, 4, 5, something that nature. But it has to be, it's apparently supposed to be PDF because I couldn't open anything else as I was grading. I tried though, I couldn't open it. So please resubmit and I will have to go back and regrade it. So if it says 2 out of 3, it doesn't mean that you got a failing grade. Don't count that 66%. Count the fact that, yes, I didn't give 0. I'm telling you that, yes, I understand you did the work. It's just the format is not correct and I can't open it. And until I can open it, I cannot give you the highest grade. I have to give you the lowest possible grade, and then I will go back and grade it for you. Okay. Perfect. How did you, Taylor? Because someone else had the same problem earlier. You saved it as a PDF or was it different?
Yeah, I saved it as a PDF, but I had to go in and resave it.
Okay. Victor, you have a question?
I was going to say the same thing. I just check my document and I do them all PDFs. I use the same software as the others. So I'm just going to resubmit my notebook. But just to be clear, because it's been a while and I tend to forget, were there any images outside of the notebook, like the actual notebook? No screenshots, no nothing, right? Just regular, the notebook, like we always do it, right?
17 and 18, I think there was one screenshot and then it was the notebook. One screenshot also.
Okay, I don't remember that.
You
I don't even
can-
know what screenshot. I took the tables and the solubility table and the other tables and
Okay,
by
that's
hand
fine.
I do them.
Okay.
So that's what I did. I'm gonna resubmit, but it's a PDF. I don't know what happened, to be honest.
Yes, just try it one more time, save it
Okay.
again, or print PDF and then submit again.
All right.
Because I wasn't able to open it.
Okay.
Okay. The lab report, no. This is for the lab report, no, because lab report it's past due, right? I wasn't talking about the lab report. I was talking about the lab notebook. The lab report 1 and 2. That even that one it should allow you because it's open. It would count as late, but it's open. March 31st, 3:30 p.m. is not here yet, right? Today's March 29th. So it still is available. Try it again. Sometimes the D2L also is not functioning, you know, for a few hours and then it gets better. Or try a different computer or save again as a PDF and upload it. I had these problems in the past. I know that even student had to bring a computer to the lab and say it's not allowing me, and just 2 hours later says I did it, it worked. So hopefully it works when you try it. Make sure you try it. I submitted, but in 2 parts. It's okay. It's okay. 2 parts, both PDF is fine. That's okay. Okay. Let me. That's fine. Go to the experiment. Do you have any questions about the experiment? Is there any other questions? Let's just make sure that your questions are answered.
Doctor, my question, yes, and that was emailed to you, but I never got a reply, is about the charts or pages in the book that are important to, let's say, print out and study for the final exam. I know the solubility chart is for sure one of them, but are there any others that we need to like print or memorize or know very well for the final exam outside of the solubility chart?
Yes, there are a couple diagrams in this. We had one last week for aldehydes and ketones. We had another diagram for the part 1 and 2, right? That shows the reactions or classification. And then I want to make sure that you have. I think to answer that question better, I think it's best when you watch the video that it says review for the exam, okay? That video. And then you decide which charts you have to memorize. I don't want to say, go ahead and memorize all the charts, but to be able to answer the questions, let's say we are bringing this, let me just bring this diagram that we have here. Okay, let's say this diagram. I may not say, you know, draw this chart, but I might tell you we have a carboxylic acid. We have an unknown that it could be either carboxylic acid or it could be amine. What reagent you would use to find out which one it is, or which solubility test? Then you could say, using this chart, you could say that carboxylic acid would dissolve in sodium hydroxide or sodium bicarbonate, but the amine doesn't dissolve. So use of sodium hydroxide would be the answer. This is expressed in the solubility chart, but here you see in every group how is kind of again broken down, and it is applied again. So it might emphasize it. So a chart like this, it can be, you know, part of it comes from that solubility chart, and then the rest is like a classification test. And when I go over carboxylic acid, again, I can explain that part again, because we have another chart that will show you how to recognize if it's this functional group or the other functional group. So there isn't really, you know, numerical values. I don't want you to recognize it unless it's applicable to a specific reaction. Let's say in chapter 17, you have, and by the way, I did read your email. I didn't have like a simple answer to put like in 2 sentences or like half a paragraph to reply to you. So I said, I'm going to explain in class. So hopefully, you know, based on what I explained, if it's not clear or it's not enough, then you could ask me if you, or, you know, at least I make sure that I answer your question. So there's no follow-up email back and forth. So the classification test, or this like now you could have like a questions like you have carboxylic acid with less than 4 carbon, and then you have carboxylic acid with more than 6 carbon. How would you recognize which one it is? In that case, you would use water as a solvent. So it depends on what is the solubility, or if it's a simple classification test. Let's say, as the example that I was going to say, that you don't have to memorize every table from experiment 17 for IR, but for experiment 15, when we do reduction of ketone, and how do you use IR to find out the product is formed? The peak at 1700 should disappear, and then a peak at 3300 should appear. A broad peak with round tip should appear at the 3300 to show that alcohol has formed. So if those numbers is applied in a specific reaction, or the experiments, which you only have like 6 or 7 of them, there aren't many reactions, then you, or maybe just 2 of them or 3 of them for the IR purpose, then you would say you need to know those functional groups, the location for those functional groups. But you don't have to memorize all those numbers for the final exam, as long as you can use the application of the IR for the other experiments. Same thing for NMR. So you don't have to memorize charts. I mean, the numbers from the specific numbers from the chart. Like if you know the location for CO double bond is around 1700, if it's conjugated, it would go down to like 1680. If it's super conjugated, would go to like 1650. That's good enough. So as long as you can explain that part, it's good enough. You don't have to know the exact numbers. Did I answer your question, Victor?
Yes, Doc.
About the charts?
That was very
Okay.
helpful.
Okay, and then what I would suggest you to watch the video that it says review for the exam. That is located in the folder for unknown part 2, and also another folder that just says exams. You have review for exam, and when you watch that video, you get better idea. Okay, like because I tell you exactly what type of questions, and then I just change the questions from semester to semester. So then you could say, okay, these are the information that I need to memorize, and you decide yourself what needs to be memorized. Okay, let me see if there is any question in the chat box now, and I will. Okay, perfect. The review, yes, the review is in the review is going to be in the in the folder, is recorded, and I want you to watch that to have better understanding of what to study or how to study for the exam. It's very helpful. It is helpful. Okay. Any other questions you might have? Any emails that I haven't answered, or any concern, any questions you might have? No? Good. For today's experiment, we have amines and carboxylic acid. The data table for amines, again, is a qualitative analysis. You would do solubility test, and then you would do Hensberg. The purpose for the Hensberg is to find out if you have primary, secondary, or tertiary. And the solubility is to say, do you have a carboxylic acid or you have amines? Carboxylic acid dissolves in basic solvent like sodium hydroxide and sodium bicarbonate, but amines, because they are basic, it would dissolve in a strong acid of hydrochloric acid. So if it dissolves in hydrochloric acid, if the compound dissolves in hydrochloric acid, then you know that it's amine. You still have to test and find out is it primary, secondary, or tertiary. And for that, I'm just going to explain based on this diagram. So you see that you can recognize if it's carboxylic acid or if it's amine. And then for the amine part, you could have a primary amine. How do you recognize as primary amine? Amines, if it's primary, you have one CN bond, and the bond is single bond, one CN bond, and two hydrogen attached to nitrogen. So you could say you count either number of hydrogens or you count the carbon-nitrogen bond. So there is one carbon-nitrogen bond, that's primary, or you could say is NH2 attached to the alkyl group, then it's primary. For secondary, you have two carbon-nitrogen bond. This is the secondary. You have two carbon-nitrogen bond and you have one hydrogen attached to the nitrogen, so that's secondary. For tertiary, your nitrogen is attached to 3 carbon, and that is tertiary. Since nitrogen is is a trivalent, it has 3 bonds. 3 bonds satisfies nitrogen. If you have 3 carbon already, so there is no need for the hydrogen. So there would be no hydrogen. There is no NH bond in tertiary. That's based on the structure. Now, if you don't have the structure, you can do the Hensberg test. With the Hensberg reagent, when you add the Hensberg reagent, when you have a mixture of these, you add to your test tube that contains primary, secondary, or tertiary. What you are looking for, your observation is going to be summarized here. If one layer forms, and I'm not saying that it's going to be clear, if you see one layer forms, then it's going to be primary. If 2 layers form, then it's not primary, it's either primary or secondary. And how would you know if it's a primary, if it's a secondary or tertiary? Is you add the HCl, When you add HCl, if it forms one layer, again, don't look for like clear solution, one layer, all like throughout the solution is going to be just one layer homogenized, is going to be tertiary. But if it keeps, or if it stays two layer, is going to be secondary. So make sure you have this chart when you are watching the video, so you can recognize as primary, secondary, or tertiary easier following this chart. The chart works better than memorizing those layers. When it comes to carboxylic acid, of course, they are acidic. They dissolve in the sodium hydroxide. They also dissolve in sodium bicarbonate. And there are some reactions. Carboxylic acid is the easiest one if you get it as unknown, but I will assign your unknown. Next week, I will tell you who is doing part A and B on like random base. I'm going to just assign that next time. So based on the class roster, like numbers, even number, odd number, that's how it's going to be. I'm not going to pick person to say you do A or B. I will go random, just on random base, because I think that would be better. So when you get your assigned letter for your unknown, then you are going to first do solubility test. If based on the solubility you find out that is a carboxylic acid, you don't have to do any derivatization. You just have one more step, and you're going to do titration. And when you do titration, using the sodium hydroxide, you will find the milliliter of base used. From that, you convert that to liter times molarity. That would give you the number of moles for base, which is equal to number of moles of acid. So you have number of moles of the acid. You have the mass of the acid that you start is like 0.2 grams. When you divide mass by number of moles, that gives you the molar mass. So if you have the molar mass and you know it's a carboxylic acid, then it's very easy to find what is the name for that carboxylic acid. You have the molar mass. You could also have the melting point, the initial melting point for your compound. So that is going to eliminate a lot of choices. So you already know you have carboxylic acid, and you know this approximate melting point, and then you find the molar mass. That's like three piece of information you put together, and you find the name for your unknown. So the nitric acid test is not reliable. I don't remember exactly if I did the nitric acid test or not for the carboxylic acid part, because it's not reliable. Don't depend on it. Sometimes it dissolves. Depends on the number of carbon you have in the carboxylic acid. Sometimes it doesn't dissolve. But based on the solubility, if you see that it dissolves in sodium hydroxide, it forms bubbles with sodium bicarbonate, that is carboxylic acid. Then you are going to go with the titration, and then you get the molar mass. And you have the melting point, molar mass, and you know it's carboxylic acid, you can identify your acid. Any questions for this part 4 and 5? No questions? Okay, if you don't have questions, I'm going to take attendance. You can watch the video, and next week your unknown starts with the unknown. So we're going to have physical property, which is the first part. You come up with two solubility group or two functional group based on the solubility. And then the week after you do classification tests. Since it's you know, the video is available, if you want to watch any part earlier, it's fine. There's no problem with that. You could watch it earlier, but I will assign the unknown next class, beginning of next class to you. Brianna? Thank you. Victor?
Here.
Thank you. Ahmed? Ahmed, I see there. Perfect. Michael? Thanks. Karina? Thank you. Alavia? Julia? Melissa? Denise? Charisse? Gian? If any of you got the images, please make sure to resubmit. If I couldn't reopen it, resubmit. But we don't have like resubmission for after the paper is graded. It's just for those that I could not open it, please. Cindy? Cindy? Natalia? Cindy? Okay. Natalia, did you answer me? Okay. Okay. Jones? Perfect. Taylor? And Christopher? Great. Okay. Any questions? Okay. If you don't have questions, thank you. Have a nice day. And yes.
Take care, doctor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.